And good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for today's Wednesday webinar. Thanks so much for joining us for today's Wednesday webinar. Appreciate you all being here. And we're going to get started here in just a few minutes here with our summer camp update with Todd and Chris, and that's going to be fantastic. But first, of course, as we always do, we're going to go in just to some of the latest and greatest news and updates and things around the Cascade Pacific Council. But first, of course, we've got to have a safety moment here. We're going to talk about keeping warm is as simple as staying cold. So these are some great tips actually from scouting.org. You can do a search for safety moments, a whole bunch of them there, really great stuff. And let's talk about these here. So just remember this. Keeping warm is as simple as staying cold, C-O-L-D, cold being clean, overheating, loose layers, and dry. So clean. If you keep all of your gear clean and free of dirt and grime and perspiration, it's actually going to help that garment keep you warm. So a great tip there. So make sure that stuff is nice and clean. And also, to keep yourself from overheating, you need to stay hydrated. And we all, of course, know that, but sometimes you're out there playing in the snow and whatnot, and you think it's cold and you don't feel like you need to hydrate. Always a great idea to hydrate. Loose layers is the L, and it's a great tip to always wear multiple layers of loose fitting clothing. That's going to allow for breathability, and that includes foot gear too. So if you can wear multiple layers of socks and whatnot, that's going to keep the insulation high without impeding your own circulation. And the D is for dry. So using wicking and breathable clothes, as we all know, for those of us who are scouts in the Pacific Northwest, staying dry is super important. So having breathable clothes that are wicking and waterproof outer gear is fantastic. So there's your safety moment of the day. All right, let's go into some of the upcoming events here. What's happening around the Cascade Pacific Council? First of all, the Council Court of Honor. Join us for that. It's going to be awesome. March 30th at 7 p.m. We are going to be honoring our Silver Beavers Award winners and our Order of the Arrow Founders Award winners. We're going to have District Award winners. We're going to talk about Eagle Scout projects and Eagle Scout scholarship winners. It is a great night of celebration. You'll be able to join us live on YouTube and Facebook. It's just going to be a great night to just honor all of those who have just done so much to serve our scouts. Okay, also, don't forget about Super Weekend. Registration is open for Super Weekend. We do have some spots left for Cub Scout packs March 4th through 6th and April 1st through 3rd at Butte Creek Scout Ranch. That's brand new, of course, as you may know. Our first ever Super Weekend for Cub Scouts. Just going to be so awesome and fantastic. The kids are going to enjoy that. Also, Scouts BSA, you're too late for March and April. So sorry, but there's still September is still open and available for Super Weekend for September at Camp Meriwether. It's awesome. For those of you who have never done it before, it is a fantastic time of like a mini summer camp. It's just really great. You get to go climbing and shooting sports, nature and trails and all that kind of good stuff at Camp Meriwether. So you can sign up for that at cpcbsa.org. Just go into the Adventures tab and you'll see it up there under Super Weekend. Also, April 2nd through 3rd is Leave No Trace training. This is for scouts aged 14 and up, plus adults, and you'll learn about all kinds of Leave No Trace principles and skills and ethics. And it's a really great time to really dive into becoming an outdoor ethics guide if you're a scout, or becoming a Leave No Trace trainer for adults. So check that out as well. You'll find that in the calendar. Just type in Leave No Trace training. You can sign up for that. Also, climbing training. This is a fantastic opportunity too, to actually learn all about climbing techniques and safety and gear and care and instruction, and really how to become a card-carrying instructor for climbing. So this is open to all adults. Also, youth ages 16 to 17 can actually attend, but you actually won't receive a certification if you're a youth, but you can attend and really learn a ton. This is April 8th through 10th and April 22nd through 24th, and you are required to go to both weekends. So these are just fantastic time to really dive into learning more about climbing and safety. The first weekend is at Camp Baldwin. The second weekend is live on the rocks at Horse Thief Butte. Also, save the date for Outdoor Skills Institute, May 13th through 15th. And these are outdoor classes too. We're going to talk about more climbing, Dutch oven cooking, shooting sports, Leave No Trace, wilderness first aid, another opportunity to really dive in and learn more about becoming a trainer for all of these things and become an instructor, and just a great opportunity to hone your skills as an outdoors person and becoming an instructor for these activities. So check that out. Also, Meriting with the Experts. Our friends at Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum are offering a ton of classes, and they are filling up fast for you Scouts, BSA Scouts. this is an awesome opportunity to have some courses to dive in and really just in some cases, finish an entire merit badge in a day. So whether it's American labor, engineering, aviation, sustainability, awesome, awesome, awesome. There are lots of opportunities. So go to cpcbsa.org/calendar for that. And you can just do a search for meriting and you'll see it pop up. And there's just lots of opportunities to do that. Also, don't forget to save the date for these fantastic activities as well. Wood Badge, September 16th through 18th and September 24th through 25th, another time where both weekends are required. You can go to cpcbsa.org/Wood Badge to learn about this. Just a fantastic opportunity to grow in scouting and leadership skills. And these skills are great for your life and for career, all of it. So check it out at cpcbsa.org/Wood Badge. Also, don't forget about World Jamboree and National Jamboree. National Jamboree is July 19th through 28th in 2023. World Jamboree follows that up in August, and it's in Korea. Both awesome, awesome, amazing opportunities to meet scouts from all over the nation or all over the world and just have an incredible, incredible opportunity. You can see the URLs here, but also the World Jamboree URL is wsj2023.us, National Jamboree. You can find out more about that at cpcbsa.org/jamboree. Okay, couple other quick things here. Did you know you can support scouting in the Cascade Pacific Council by supporting Camp for All? For those of you who are not in a unit and happen to be listening, you can actually support a local scout unit in accomplishing their Camp for All campaign goals. Camp for All is all about supporting scouts getting to camp and having an incredible experience. That fundraising opportunity is specifically for camp and camp scholarships. So check that out at cpcbsa.org/Camp for All. Or if you're a scout unit, you can actually go to cpcbsa.org/Start Camp for All. And that has all the tips and tricks and all the tools you need for working on your fundraiser as well. Also, the Kerr Contractors Sporting Clays Shootout, you can grab a team and get shooting. There, I believe, a few spots left, but there are also opportunities to become a sponsor, to give auction items to the Cascade Pacific Council for this event to really support us. Just awesome opportunity, and it is incredibly fun. It is basically golf with guns. That's an incredible shotgun shootout, and it is awesome. If you're into that, go to cpcbsa.org/shootout. You'll see some video there. It is a hoot. All right, next up here. You can also support the Cascade Pacific Council and scouting by sponsoring a Meriwether staff bunkhouse. These are incredible, beautiful new bunkhouses, and we'd love to put your name on them. So you can contact Mike Egan at michael.egan, that's EGAN, at scouting.org. There are a few bunkhouses left that you can put your name on it, your family's name, in honor of someone that you love, a super scout in your life. That would be awesome. Again, contact Mike Egan at michael.egan@scouting.org. New marketing stuff is rolling out from National. We also have some new tools as well. We're actually going to talk about that next week at a marketing webinar that we're going to be doing. So we'll have some details on this, but National is also promoting this new campaign called Adventure On. So there are fantastic resources about this at cpcbsa.org/marketing. You can get all the tools there, and we'll have more information at our webinar next week. Okay. Whew. Lots going on. Isn't it great? I love it. It's so awesome. Anywho, I'm going to now pass the ball off to Mr. Chris Harold and Mr. Todd McDonald, our super scout campers. Anyway, they are the guys who know all about everything that's going on for summer camp. And as you know, for those of you who have been watching, listening, and whatnot, we are doing these every month until summer camp rolls in. We're going to be doing these every month. The last Wednesday of every month is all about summer camp. So, and for those of you who joined us here or on Facebook, you'll be able to ask your questions at the end. You can join us if you're an attendee. Just toss your questions there into the Q&A in the chat, and we will get to those in due course as well. Okay, gents, I'm going to pass it on to you. Let me, do you want to share your screen, Chris, or should I just continue on?
It seems to be working fine. Why don't you just continue on?
Sounds great.
Great. Well, good afternoon, just barely afternoon where I am here, and probably where many of us are. Hey, welcome. I'm Chris. I work with all our camps and supporting them and making sure that we have the best staff we can and the best program we can, and everybody stays on budget so we don't have to do things we don't want, that we are using the dollars well. That's the words I'm looking for. And I just wanted to share before we jump too deep into it, two things. Thing one is, if you attended the January webinar, there's not a whole lot new in this webinar. I mean, I don't want to discourage you, but I want to value your time. So if there's really just not a whole lot more that's new compared to the January webinar to right now today. So you'll hear a lot of the things that are the same. And thing two is that I had the privilege last Saturday to spend 8 hours with our camp directors and camp managers and business managers, program directors, all those folks via Zoom, talking about how do we do camp as best as possible. What's on their mind? What are they concerned about? Where are they stuck? What are the obstacles? And, you know, by and large, I'm so excited about this team we have for you this summer. These managers, we're hitting obstacles, of course, but they're blasting through them. We're figuring out our way, and the combined knowledge between the group is helping us prepare a better camp for you for this summer. So I don't know if that excitement is coming through the camera across the interwebs over to you, but that's it's something I'm feeling. So I wanted to share it. Next slide, please. And that goes right with the slide here, is that we do have new facilities going in around camps. There are things that are simple but important. Like I know we've been working to upgrade our signage for some time now, and our signage in our camps is improving as we speak. We have people making new signs. They are fairly uniform. The objective is to make it a little bit more like the airport. It kind of feels like when you're at the airport, you look around, you kind of know where to go, no matter what airport you're in, even if you don't speak the language. And we want our camps to be somewhat similar, so that it's easier to find the things instead of having this deep secret knowledge of where things are hidden around our camps. And besides signage, of course, we've talked a lot about the upgrades to facilities and shower houses and restrooms and all those sorts of things to try and make the stay as best as possible for everybody who comes to camp. Programs are growing and changing as things go along here too. Not a lot in specifics, except for what we're going to mention a little later about the Webelos base camp, which is, my goodness, that one's going to be great for Webelos, getting them transitioned over to Scouts BSA. And then the new camp portals, I think we even have a little example of that to share with you today, which will show you kind of how we'll roll out that information to you this summer about and leading up to the summer about what to expect at camp. And I think you're going to like the level of detail that these portals can provide. So we're ready to roll to the next slide. Todd, over to you.
Well, I'm pretty excited too about summer camp and making all these things happen. As some of you may know, I've been the staff advisor to the COVID task force for the last year, and 2 years, I guess. And as everybody knows, is that the things about COVID and how best to make camp happen is ever changing. And our last update was November 17th. The state of Oregon updated its summer camp guidelines with regard to COVID and how we were supposed to operate. And with that information, we are using that as a baseline for our working assumption. So literally, if we were able to run camp tomorrow, these are the current things that we believe is allowed in the state of Oregon. A couple of things to expect. We're probably henceforth and forevermore will be doing staggered check-ins. One, this works for COVID, so we don't create mass bunching events. But what we also learned is that units really enjoyed having their time, and that we can work with all of your issues, all the things that you need, and get you on without the clutter of trying to get through all the units showing up at the same time. So it works for COVID, but I think it works for customer service as well. And we're finding people too who are traveling great distances that like, checking in at 1 as opposed to 10 a.m. And so we're working on that process. Dining is the kind of the big question right now because we want to make sure that we can, in our dining halls, figure out how we can make sure that we're safe. My guess is that we'll still wear masks, that we cannot do family style with the current guidelines. So we'll have to shift to the camps that we're doing dining hall, family style cooking. We'll have to do buffet style, and all the food currently would need to be plated and handed to the individuals, as opposed to, you know, like a full-on buffet. And of course, Camp Baldwin programs where we provide food to the campsite, there is no change. Masking is on the top of everybody's mind. Well, currently, we don't expect to have masks outdoors at all unless we're going to have mass bunching events that are going to take a while. So let's say that you, because we want to allow individuals or buddies to go to merit badges at whatever schedule that they like, much like we've done in the past, we may still need to require masking for most merit badges that are class-based, sitting around a table, that type of thing, unless we can social distance, and we social distancing outside and we feel comfortable about that, no mask are needed. And then when you walk away from the merit badge class, take off that mask and go back to your campsite. We're not going to require you and your campsites to wear masks around your people or not, but we want to try to prevent mass spread events. Daily screening is still going to be part of it. We do believe that we're going to have a large supply of tests on hand. So if somebody wakes up in the morning and starts with a scratchy throat or not exactly sure where they're at, that we could do a quick little test on them, make sure that they are not testing positive, and move on the rest of our day. We find that is the greatest window right now for us to be able to allow kind of normality, and everything else is to do daily screenings. And our current council policy is making sure that everybody is taking personal responsibility and knowing their risks, the Eagles Happy Campers. So, you know, we are going to have to make sure that we choose kindness and being respectful to those who prefer to wear a mask, or at times when maybe you wouldn't normally wear a mask. So maybe in your troop, maybe you'll have a leader or somebody that wants to wear a mask. And we need to be respectful of that, because everybody's going to come to camp with a different level of concern about their personal risk for summer camp. And we need to be kind and considerate of everybody there, which is no different than any other time, being considerate of other people. We hope to open up all of our program areas, but we're not going to hide things to you. There's still a national shortage for summer camp staff. This means if you're hearing this and you know a teen or maybe an adult teacher or somebody who's retired that would like to come work for 2 weeks for the entire summer or some sort of program like that, we could use the help, because there's a lot of spaces that we're trying to fill to make sure that we can run as many programs as we can. And we're not totally feeling in crisis, but we definitely could be. So if you have older scouts in your troop who are not thinking about going to summer camp, please ask them to consider working on summer camp staff. Both Chris Harold and I did this as a youth. In fact, that's how we became friends more than 30 years ago. And we will tell you that the friends that we made at summer camp are still our friends today. And so now the cohorts was basically the concept of running around like a patrol is not likely. Cub Scout camps will kind of seem that way. We're going to keep your dens together for a lot of the stuff, but we are still planning on having a Cub Scout camp interactive time where you will be able to go and open program to go do what you want with your friends. So that's kind of our working assumptions for this summer. Thanks, Chris. Back to you.
Back to me. Thank you. Hey, and as Todd said, camp staff are wanted. I like the infinite possibilities here, because whatever your skills are, and if you're of camp staff age, there's so many just different opportunities for your work. We have places for introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, all the verts. We have good spots for people to work at camp. We have some people who are great with the mechanical stuff. We need that. Cleaning or food service, we need that. We need people who are just the upfront rah-rah people. And we need directors for people to manage those different areas, particularly some of the high safety areas. That's, I think, the biggest single threat to any area of camp operating is the ability to find those crucial safety leaders, because you just can't run an area without the crucial safety leaders, without the proper training in place. And we've been searching, we've been digging, we've been turning all the rocks over, but we are still looking for some key leaders. And also, I should mention, volunteer commissioners looks like a role that could be reopened for this summer. That looks like it will be reopened for this summer, where a adult leader comes to camp on their own and volunteers for a week to just make camp better. And largely their role is kind of asking the camp leadership, okay, now what? Okay, what else you got? Okay, what else you got? And being a roving do-gooder. And that it's a really fun role if you have the opportunity to have a week of your time to devote to that this summer. So you can see the link over on the bottom right, cpcbsa.org/camp staff, and that will get you to our camp staff application. So thanks for considering that. Next slide, please. Camp communications. You should have received an email last week if you are on the list of people who's registered with your pack or troop as a camp leader, or if you signed up on the, I think, did we put this back on here? We did not. There is a, Chris, I think you know what I'm going to ask. There's a link. If you are not receiving the emails, there's a link you go to and add your name to our mail list so that you get specifically the camp communications. And so I believe Chris will be able to put that in the chat. And then we're on the last Wednesday of the month, and so you're in the webinar. We're going to continue doing those. You will continue to see updates showing up on the website, summer camp, along with these leaders guides. We want to show you these summer camp portals. We want to give you a quick little tour of those, and because this is going to probably be the main conduit for getting information. Planning for camp, there are things that change and update as you get closer and closer, and so we want you to have the most current information, and that's what these portals are about. They're pretty cool things. So let's take a look, can we?
Give me 1 second here. We'll just make sure everybody can see it here.
Notice the highlighted section that comes up right away, that this portal is under construction. All details are in draft until the notice is removed. So we will send this link to you specifically as soon as we get to that final and to the finished form. You'll see where there's room for all the links of things you might be looking for on the right side there. What's the tide tables like at Camp Meriwether? So when are the best land sailing times or tide pooling times going to be during your stay? There's a link for adding more leaders to the email list to just keep in the loop. You can see where the things that you will most likely need are in a very handy format, which is one of the very appealing things of this, as opposed to the kind of traditional sort of printed leader guide where you kind of got to dig through it all. This sort of bulleted way, it seems like the way people are more comfortable communicating and receiving information as well. Let's see. It's not that there won't be a leader guide. Ultimately, there will. It's just that this is a better way to distill the information and get it out quickly. It's kind of like, here's the table of contents. Click. I'm there. I found what I needed. And I know, and these things were used also to, some of our camps had literally last summer had weekly meetings for leaders to try and get that orientation done right before you come. What's the last minute stuff I need to know? So there's lots of good ways that these can be helpful and useful to you. FAQs, those will be updated as we keep finding out from our front desk what are the questions that are coming in via phone and email, and we just are able to get the information to you in a better way. There's something up here, a little higher, Chris, if you can. If you can scroll up the screen, there is something up here where you can take a look at your campsite. So this is great. Once you know your campsite, and those of you who are coming to us from far away, there it is, campsites. What's in each campsite, all that kind of in the photo gallery. So you can like spin around in a circle in your campsite and see all the mini decks and all the facilities that are there. And it gives you a chance to have a quick preview of that, so you know what you're getting into, and you can say, oh yeah, I think we better put Susie and Shirley in this one, and I think we ought to put Johnny and Skippy over in that one over there. You can do your management of people, and it's kind of nice to be able to preview that before you get to camp. So there's
Can you
that.
hear everyone now? Can you hear it? Ooh, ah.
And these will only get better up until the time we get those opened up and released. And our target date on that is April 1. And that's not an April Fool's. That's a real that's a real date. So and I know our camp managers are working on them because I've seen it. So all right. I think that's good, and we can get back to our slide deck. And we've got one for each camp, and it seems to be just a real good way to do a better way to do communication. So in the meantime, as you're having questions, concerns, that sort of thing, that email address at the bottom, that 492.camping@scouting.org, 492.camping@scouting.org is a great one to do. Ooh, good question, Bob Blue. Staffing about when those who are interviewed are notified about being on camp staff. Yes, that is very much a concern. I will throw that out there right now. That's a concern. We need that to happen yesterday. And that was a conversation with our camp directors over the weekend to make sure that it does happen. There are a couple of things that they've been working on, is making sure the references are checked and returned so that they are hireable. So if the reference people are being slow, that might be a hurdle there. But also, I want, especially in this employment market, it's urgent and important that we get back to people as soon as possible and let them know they've been hired for camp staff. I am not content with our performance on that area to date. We're overdue. But it is not a fault of anybody who's been interviewed, of our interviewees. It's on our end. We need to get it fixed. So I own that. Thank you for mentioning that, because we need to let them know. And there is a group of people who has been interviewed and has not been informed yet of their position at camp. So today there are hire letters going out to everybody who the camp directors have placed in positions. Today that's happening, along with their pre-camp calendar. And then there'll be and then in the coming week, people will be just, I guess, what's the right word for it? Taking people from the part where they, in our system, you go from they've been interviewed to they've been placed. And that placement piece is the part that the camp directors have to get to the finish line at this point. But that's a very good question. And I do appreciate you bringing that up, because I wanted to communicate that today and skipped on past it. That's not good. Okay, great. I think we're ready to go to the next one. Todd, you want to?
Yeah. Obviously, we want to make sure that we have a lot of, you're aware and prepared to do the things that we have to do. And before I go into this slide and just talk a little bit about this, I want to share with you kind of our feelings and vision as to how we perceive our relationship with each and every one of our units out there. We have the structure that we as a council and camping operation have put together to ensure that we can provide the most amount of experience, best possible quality, and with as little as amount of trouble as needed to be able to make those things happen. And but we understand that every unit out there, we'll probably have close to 1,000 of them signed up for reservations anyway for this summer. Every registration may have a different issue. And there may be a feeling from the people who have those issues that, oh, my issue is not important enough to issue, like this, or I'm frustrated because of X. We invite you to get in touch with us. And later we're going to show you who you can contact. Obviously, Chris and I are available, but we also have Deanne and Carrie standing ready to help you solve problems to the best of your ability, because we see that we are more than just a Motel 6 to you, or some sort of resort. I guarantee you that we do not have cabana people support, and we do not put mint on your pillows. But I do believe that we look at our relationship between every adult that comes to camp and all of you and your challenges that you face as partners. And we really, not that we can solve every problem, but we want to have the opportunity to help you. So if you have any problems in our registration system, communication system, and all that, please let us know. We are not too busy for you. Each and every one of you deserve a good quality experience, and you should have the information that you need to be successful. Now, that is a partnership. That means you have to do stuff. That means that we have to do stuff. But and so I want to talk a little bit about the things that we really need for you to do. I mean, obviously, attending our normal communications. We sent out an email this last weekend. If you did not get an email this weekend and you're registered, check your junk folders. You might find a bunch of stuff there from us. We have people contact us pretty regularly, frustrated that they haven't heard anything. And when we ask them to check their junk folders, all of a sudden it's littered with all this great information that's amazing that existed. So please make sure that you do check that. Each of you should look in your Tenaroo account if you haven't done so. Each one of our Tenaroo accounts have a primary and secondary contact. And those people are for the unit. And if you go into your reservation, each event has a primary and secondary contact. So that means that we'll communicate to up to 4 people with all of this. So so please, make sure that you update that to make sure the right people. You'd be surprised how many people have reached out to us from the emails that we've sent saying, I'm no longer involved in this unit. Why are you contacting me? Well, because you're listed as the primary contact for the unit, for goodness sake. So how can we get that fixed? And so please, that you being communicated to is critical to our success as partners. Again, we talked about adding you to your list. Now, the big thing that's coming up for the Scout BSA troops is the March 1st Scout BSA deadline. So if you have 10 youth signed up, you have already paid $100 and you owe an additional $900, bringing your total to $1,000 by March 1st. And so we want to make sure that you do all this. Why this happens and why we needed this is that people sign up for our camps sometimes more than a year in advance. And we don't hear from you until like now. So we need a time where you have to put some skin in the game to confirm your attendance. Likewise, we have a tremendous amount of sessions right now that have wait lists, people that want to come. And in the past, we've had entire units drop in June from our program. And if we would have known sooner, we would have been able to get those other units in. Now, so please do your best to work with this. Now, we have heard from you that many of you are having issues because you have Weeblos who have yet to commit to you, have not even crossed over yet, and you don't want to be hanging out for that fee, nor do you want to give up your spots. Well, one, do your level best to contact those Weeblos and see what they're going to do. And then 2, if you're really having a problem, give us a call and we'll see what we can do. I mean, I can't tell you what we'll do yet, but if you're really struggling trying to figure out this deadline thing, let us know. I guarantee you that if you're prepared to pay most of your fees by now, my guess is that we're willing to help. So just let us know and we'll try to do what we can to help. For Cub Scouts, know that your deadline is not until May. So everything I just said will come to grips, when we get closer to, at the April webinar that we do, you'll hear more about that. We still have this June 1st early bird deadline for camp bucks and discounts. So if you pay in full for your camp by June 1st, we will get you a little swag bag, and inside that swag bag will be some camp bucks that you can spend in the trading post and a couple discount things that you can use also in the trading post for your week. And for Scout BSA, it's really helpful because sometimes you have merit badges you need to pay for or whatever. It's nice to be able to have a discount on some of that. So just know that that's coming your way. And then the final deadline, please, the final deadline is so important. 2 weeks prior to you attending camp, there is a deadline that if you don't pay all of your fees by that date, it doesn't matter because all of those, so let's say that you have 10 people coming and only 8 of them, are not going to come. I mean, 8 of them are going to come. You still owe the full amount if you don't let us know before that date. right? So that's all the $400 or whatever it might be you will owe. Now, if something happens within that 2-week deadline, you know, a life event or anything, we have a relief valve for that. We have a refund request for that. But that's for specific issues. The intention is that you as our partner is going to do your level best and let us know 2 weeks out what your attendance is going to be, and so that that we can better order food, that we can make sure that your campsites are going to fit, all those things. So thank you for all that. And finally, we've talked about this in communication, but kind of get ready for April. I know that this month is not a lot different from last month, other than we're excited that these portals are about to come up online. I think you're going to really enjoy them. But we expect to make a lot more decisions about how camp is going to look, and we'll have all the details that we need to make good communication to you by April. What we don't want to do is be in a situation to share with you stuff and then come back and change it. So we're kind of holding off on that. We don't think it's going to put anybody out too much if we wait until April to completely solidify our merit badge schedules, our you know, how we're going to do with campsites and all of that stuff. So I see a bunch of questions in here. I'm pretty sure we've got all that down. We'll do our best to get to those questions here in a second, but that's kind of what's important. But most importantly, if I've said anything in my little diatribe here, and I apologize for it, but I'm very passionate about how I feel about you, that we want to be your partner and that we work together. There's some things that we're going to need to do. There's some things that you're going to need to do, but let's be a partner in this effort, and let's make the best program that we can for our kids together. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks, Todd. And I think there's a couple questions that in the window there you were going to get to, and so that's perfect. So all right. So fee increases in January. Very shortly after the first of the year, we did something unprecedented in my experience, is that we raised the camp fee after we had published the camp fee. We publish our camp fees nearly 2 years in advance. Like our 2023 fees are about to get published here in the next month or so, if not sooner. And we do that with the knowledge that we have in hand and help everybody plan. What we couldn't plan or foresee is the things that happened, you see in the bullet points there, that really raised our expenses above our ability to responsibly offer camp at the price we had offered before. And so we did do a fee increase. So for Scouts BSA youth and adults, it went up $20 a person. And for Cub Scout youth and adults, that went up $10 a person. So we did raise the prices there. Also, in response to that, knowing that the raising the funds to come to camp, besides fundraisers and personal savings and those sorts of things, can be a difficulty for some families, we also increased the number of scholarships available, so that we don't want the finance side of it to be a limiting factor of why a kid does not come to camp. And so the scholarship link, I know there was a question about scholarships there, about when they're due, and that, and Todd's working on that. And then I just wanted to share that there are more scholarships available. The scholarship form is on our website, and you can apply right away today, and we can get you an answer so you can have the ability to plan for your summer's camp. You can see some of those specific cost increases, and I think we've all seen them just going to the grocery store or different places, but there were some hard-hitting ones. The wildfires all across the West raised insurance costs, and that was a 6-digit increase to us for this, of how much more we're paying for just to insure our camps. That was, in fact, our insurance company dropped us, and we had to get a new insurance company because they didn't want to insure camps in areas that were subject to wildfires like ours are. And the food supplies and the production supply lines. Well, I went to the American Camping Association conference this a week ago, and they had a wonderful explanation of why things were a mess, not necessarily what you could do. Well, they gave some ideas of what to do about it, but why things were a mess with the supply lines and all that sort of thing. and it was just helpful to be able to understand. And so we didn't want to make this increase without being able to share the whys behind it. So you can see those right there. Great. And we can move right on along. Thank you. The big picture for our camps is our promise to offer a first-class summer camp. Those campers who went last summer, it was a very different summer, but it was still a first-class experience. We had so many on. As we read through our appraisals, they weren't uniformly glowing, but at the same time, what the troops and packs mentioned was the time that they had together as a troop or as a pack was hugely valuable, particularly in the environment we were in last summer. We've learned from some of the positives that came out of last summer, and we've made changes that we probably would have been a little reluctant to make had we not had all these things come along. And I think it's making us better in the end. Even turning the lemons into lemonade, even at Butte Creek, where all the campsites burned down, solved one of the great challenges of Butte Creek. Is one of the biggest concerns was the camps are all way up the hill, and how do I get a kid up the hill to take a bob time and down in the time that there is for bob time? Nobody wants to go up the hill in the hot sun in the summer. Well, you don't have to. There's still a hill. It's just not the hill. It's not the mammoth hill that was there. So there are new shelters, new campsites, lower down on the hill, easier access to the program area, easier access to all the things. And that's making lemons into lemonade. And we're grateful to those donors and to all the different things that made it possible for Butte Creek to get rebuilt so quickly. And it continues to be rebuilt as we speak. Great. We talked about portals. That date, May 1, I should have changed it to April 1. That's when we've got the information coming out. So that's a correction there. Bottom line, planning great camps for you and your scouts. Next slide. Todd, you want to tell about Butte Creek?
You bet. We're really excited for all of you that get a chance to experience Butte Creek this summer. The kind of the Wild West feel and smell and play with that camp is made for our Cub Scouts. You know, we've added all new shower houses up there and actual flushable toilets throughout camp for people to use, and a full-on dining hall, plus our horse program, a fishing pond, and all sorts of activities, you know, that we're looking for. We'll probably be panning for gold and experiencing, you know, camp in just a new and exciting way to make it all work. That kind of that Western feel that our little ones get, and they're going to be they're going to cowboy up. They're going to show up as maybe a cowpoke and work their way to become, you know, a wrangler or a sheriff or you know, some sort of, you know, cowboy Western rank, if you will, but depending on the year that they show up and what they do. We have found that people just enjoy camping there so much. Everybody gets to stay in our mini decks, and everything's relatively close now as far as sleeping and bathrooms and our dining hall. So we're looking forward to a great summer. Our Cub Scout kids finally getting a chance to get outdoors, shooting bows and arrows and archery and all the things that make camp special. You're muted.
Camp Baldwin, pride of CPC, Camp Baldwin. There's so much to love about Camp Baldwin, and the fact that you can take one of my greatest memories of Camp Baldwin is when my very first summer camp was there, and the older scout, our SPL, in fact, took interest enough in me to help me learn to build a fire, and not just a fire, but all the different types of fire, and why would you use that kind of fire or this one or the other one. And he showed me that stuck with me, well, till today, and I'm very appreciative of it. That hands-on sort of approach at Camp Baldwin extends to the cooking. I came away from my first year of summer camp being able to cook because there was the opportunity to cook. And then for all my troop campouts after that, and it's not about me, I'm talking now about your troops. When your new scouts are at Camp Baldwin and they learn to cook, all the rest of the campouts are going to be a lot smoother. And so I strongly recommend it for early scouts, first years Scouts BSA, and also for older scouts, because the adventures continue. There's lots of high adventure opportunity at Baldwin with climbing and mountain biking and mountain boarding, whitewater rafting, what are the windsurfing things. There's so many opportunities from Camp Baldwin to launch off to be a base for exploration to all kinds of other big adventures. So so much happening there, not to mention nice and warm, big lake, good fishing, horses. It's a really cool place. Yeah.
All right, Camp Meriwether. Well, what can you say about Camp Meriwether? 2.5 miles of private ocean front, the salty air, the sunlight coming through the mossy tree, or the misty air trees in the evenings and in the mornings, and our new beach program that involves the only of its kind land sailing program in the state. We have mountain biking, and we have blacksmithing and swimming and shooting ranges to make. We do every shooting that you can pretty much think of. We do archery, rifle, shotgun, and black powder. We have a reenactment program there at Meriwether showing the Lewis and Clark history, and we have a program called for people to learn more and more about those things. Our current plan is to be able to eat in this large dining hall, and every campsite in camp has bunks and is in a mini deck or a Adirondack. A mini deck only has 2 bunks, and Adirondacks have more than 2 bunks. And look forward to just a summer that you can't explain. A lot of you that may be coming, we have a significant amount of people who come from out of council, specifically the southern parts of the country, because at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock every afternoon, you have to put on a sweatshirt. As that evening comes around, it's almost about sweatshirt weather, and a wonderful time that you throw up a fire and you're sitting around the fire wearing your sweatshirt, telling stories and the like. So looking forward to a wonderful experience at Camp Meriwether this year.
Oh, Camp Pioneer, the jewel of the Cascades. And at Camp Pioneer, Todd and I didn't know this was a competition about describing the beauteous, but it's kind of fun. Camp Pioneer, you walk over that hill from the parking lot and you are greeted by Mount Jefferson staring you in the face, reflected in the lake, in Pine Ridge Lake, also a very good fishing lake. And you might happen to see the Osprey coming by on its twice-a-day journey to pluck trout out of the clutches of our scouts. But it's a compact camp. It's a smaller capacity than many camps, which makes it a more personal sort of setting, I would say, in terms of you'll probably know every staff member at Camp Pioneer, and they will know you, and that's a really good thing. The dining hall is beautiful, despite the fact that it's covered right now in probably 10 to 15 feet of snow, and that's no exaggeration. And it's this camp sits at about 4,500 feet. So during the first day, you might find your hiking to be a little bit heavy breathing involved in your hiking about, but you adjust pretty quick to that. It is rustic and beautiful, and most of the camp areas are around the Pine Ridge Lake. Most like the campsites, the program areas, they're right around that loop. So if you want to keep watch on what's going on with your troop, you just take a couple laps. Or if somebody in your troop needs to chill out, they can just take a lap. All those things apply. But a really beautiful camp. This one does not have mini decks like some of our camps. Instead, it has the canvas covered tent platforms, partly because mini decks don't do well under 15 feet of snow. So that's Camp Pioneer, a wonderful place.
Well, here we go. Baldwin Base Camp for Webelos. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. Most of you may not know this about me, but in 1991, me and a group of people were asked to make Cub Scout camping possible on a grand scale for our council. And we started out that summer with around, there was 11 times where someone may stay the night after day camp and all that, but we had these new plan for Cub Scout resident camp, and we started and we got it going. We're really excited about how it worked out. And pretty soon we went from like 300 people to over 2,000 Cub Scouts camping every summer. And I'll be honest, there was two things that were missing to me back then, was seeing girls there, which we definitely are seeing now in spades. There was nothing that we were doing back then that sisters couldn't have done. And then also is a program that really excited our older Cub Scouts, because all of a sudden we realized that Cub Scouts were able to grow up in our camping program. And by the time, much like, you know, your 16-year-old Scout BSA Scout, by the time they got to Weeblos, they've kind of been there, done that. So our hope was to try to open up a new concept, the Baldwin Base Camp for Weeblos, right? So they're going to stay in a campsite that troops stay in. They're going to be able to do swimming. We haven't offered swimming for Cub Scouts in over 30 years. Not once. And we're going to offer it this summer. And boating as well. And I'm really excited because I've had these in my office. I don't know if you can see them. Let's see. I don't know if you can see
oversized check. No.
Yeah. This right here is a bolt action pellet gun, right? And only Weeblos can shoot them in Cub Scouts. And I have a pile of them in my office. I've been excited about having them. They look exactly like a 22 that we shoot a year later. And they'll be able to shoot pellet guns and archery, and they'll be able to ride horses. Everybody will get a trail ride. We're planning on opening up our mountain biking. We're looking at opening up some bouldering and hiking and activities. And most importantly is that we're going to teach the Scouts how to cook. Now, yes, you as an adult leader are probably going to do most of the cooking, but they get to learn. But we are going to make sure that we have camp-wide meals regularly throughout the time, so you don't feel like you have to cook every meal. The new experience should be something not offered anywhere else near us, something that is paramount to a young boy or girl's development in preparing them to become Scouts. And that is our number one goal with our Weeblos. And we're really excited about how this program at Camp Baldwin could change the minds of parents and of young boys and girls as to whether or not Scout BSA is for them. And that's what this program is all about. And I'm not excited about it at all. I don't think it's going to work. I'm really excited and can't wait.
And that brings us to the questions part. And people have been doing a great job of putting questions in as we go. Hopefully you're getting the answers you're after.
It'd be great if we could just review a few of them. If we want to go through those just so we've got it recorded, and those who end up listening later or watching later can actually, there were some great questions in here. If you guys wanted to just mention a couple.
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of them. I'll go through the ones I answered. And how about everybody do the ones they answered?
Okay,
great. That way, if there's so I would go ahead and start with the web, the Facebook. We had someone ask, when will units that are on the waiting list know? And I said, we'll try to let you know right away each week, but give us a little bit better than a week. I'm saying 10 to 15 days to get all of the transactions done and let you in. The moment that we can let you in, we will. But we'll try to let you know definitely by mid-month. And I think that was it for the. You're
talking about the end of March. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the end of March. Yeah, we should know closer by then.
And part of, not to interrupt, but part of the thing there is that with this March 1st payment deadline, that's when a lot of troops adjust their numbers down, and that opens up space for those who are on the waiting list. So that's another reason why that March 1st deadline is such a hot button to get those numbers as close to right as possible, because we want every Scout to come. Adults attending Cub Camp at Butte Creek, do they need to be registered leaders? And that is, it's always a great idea for all your adults come to camp, your group activities to have youth protection training, and there's no hurdles to anybody at all on the planet taking youth protection training. That's all you need is a computer and the website, and you can take that training. But each pack needs at least 2 adult leaders at all times, and one has to be at least 21. Is that, believe that's changed to 2 now, hasn't it? I put the answer as one has to be 18, but I think that was a recent change, that both need to be 21 years old. And yeah, and they in terms of the health form, they need the A and B because at Cub Camp, because Cub Camp stops short of 72 hours and short of needing the full physician signed physical.
Yeah, and Chris, let me just share there that we do have a lot of parent-child attendees, and what we try to do almost in every session is that we link them up into their own group. So yes, you show up with only one leader, right? But we will make a unit out of you ahead of time, so we can follow the guidelines. So good communication it definitely helps in that. There was a question in here about the current state of it's a real kind of tenuous state of, so what's going to happen with masking policy, and what are we going to do about that by summertime? And at this point, we got to first what people may not know about us is that we're licensed by the state of Oregon to run camp. And so we have to make sure that we don't violate that license, or it could take years for us to get them back. Penalties for violating your camp license is pretty severe. So we're working to ensure that we're following the state guidelines, and we believe that by April we'll have a really good idea as to what summer's going to be looking like for sure. But what I shared with you in working assumptions is if we had to open tomorrow, that's what the current guidelines say. Now we might get a new update, and I expect so, and that will change that as we go forward. And we will let you know, but don't expect it in March for sure, because everything is very. If you watch the news with who does what, when, and how, it is very chaotic right now. And I wouldn't put a lot of stock into any of that. And let us get through the March, and we'll let you know more in April.
I noticed that a shout out to Jennifer for helping find this answer on Tentaroo, where you go to change your reservation, your contacts in there. And so if you have your unit login information, you can log in and change it there. Otherwise, you can email 492.camping@scouting.org, and we can help you with the process there. Jennifer found it under manage registration and got her information up. She confirmed that her information was correct or got it updated, one or the other. So shout out to Jennifer. Thank you.
Manage registration under her registration for the camp.
Right. And thank you, under the camp reservation for her group. Yeah. The question about Cub Camp, do they have to be tigers and lions can't go? So lions, that's true. Lions cannot go to Cub Camp, except that if you've been a lion all year and you graduate, which is end of the school year, then you become a tiger. And so you are no longer a lion. And so if you've been a lion all year, you magically become a tiger and you can come to camp. So it's okay for graduating lions to come as tigers.
So people who are in preschool now entering kindergarten next year will not be able to attend camp.
Correct. Yeah.
And so another question similar is that Laura was saying, asked a great question about, they have a smaller pack coming to bring multiple ages to Butte Creek, and would they be split out? And I said, we often will try to separate the Weeblos out if we can, so we can give them an upscale experience, and we're still working on that. But the tigers, wolves, and bears are likely going to be all together. There's no expectation to change that. And also that all the kids that go to Butte Creek have an opportunity to have a horse experience. Weeblos can actually go on a ride, but the rest, everybody else will have a horse experience and has been getting one for some time. Another question that happened in there is, what's the deadline for summer camp? the
Scholarships?
scholarships. We
Yeah.
don't have a deadline. I guess it would be until we've run out of money. I don't anticipate us running out of money, but feel free to challenge me on that. We want to make sure that there's been enough. We established a Camp for All campaign and really prioritize camp. We want to make sure that money is not the reason why people don't go to camp, and so we're going to do our best for that. And then the other one that I had on here was Nicole asked about how do we update our registrations, or at some point we're going to ask you to do individual registrations for your scouts, to link the names of your registration to your account. Typically that's not going to happen until like June. Okay, but what are we going to do to be able to help with that process? Well, in May, we will take the current registrations for all the Cascade Pacific Council units that we know, and we will update your registrations, your system, or our system, with those registrations. So you won't have to necessarily enter in everybody unless they're not currently registered in your unit. Okay, those are all the questions I answered. I believe.
Chris just added one in there that someone on Facebook was asking if we only have to verify scout numbers, not adults. Yeah, and that's correct. Yeah, we want you to have your reservation as close as possible. The scout numbers are the urgent and important ones, because that $100 per scout non-refundable is the March 1 for Scouts BSA, May 1 for Cubs. And it's only based on the Scouts numbers. You can up and down your adult numbers as needed after that point with no penalty.
Great questions, Craig.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to highlight a quick point we missed a little bit. I missed a little bit earlier, and that is we're really encouraging packs to come to camp as a pack as much as possible. There's a really good practical reason for that. Our ultimate goal is to make your pack stronger when it leaves camp than when it came into camp. We want it to be stronger all year. And it's been my observation as a Cub master and as a teacher and all sorts of other sorts of roles, where those relationships exist, where those parents know each other and are familiar with each other, finding the help and support to make a pack go gets a whole lot easier, because you start knowing each other's skills and you're comfortable and confident in who it is you're working with there. So that time where the pack parents are together is going to ultimately benefit the scouts. And so encouraging the pack to come together in the same time versus just a den here, den there, a couple people here, a couple people there. It's a much stronger model to have the whole pack come at the same time. And will benefit scouting for your kids and for the whole council, and just having stronger packs. Great. Wow, there's more. That's great. Vaccine requirements. At this point, there is no intention of having a vaccine requirement. We have been, since they've been available, had a strong recommendation that everybody who can receive the vaccine. That's been an outcome of our recommendations, including our staff. We have that same strong recommendation there, but have stopped short of making it a requirement. A lot of the same sort of health check measures will be in place ahead of camp. One note to that whole vaccine thing: if you come down with COVID while you're at camp, currently the quarantine, there's a difference in the quarantine requirements for you. So pretty much if you come down with COVID at camp and you're not vaccinated, it's time to go home.
Actually, Chris, the big change in that right now, it could change by then, is
right.
If you're exposed,
thank you.
If you're exposed and you're vaccinated versus if you're not vaccinated, there's different guidelines that we'll be asked to do. If we were going to do camp today, that'd be different. So exposed non-vaccinated people would have to be quarantined. Exposed vaccinated people do not need to be quarantined. And that's not me, that's just the guidelines that are out right now.
Great. did. I'm scrolling back and forth a little here, trying to confirm we've got.
Yeah, I think we're good. You know what I realized, Chris Bartell, is I am not seeing our Carrie and Deanne's contact information or how to get in touch with us. Did we have that slide in there? Our main number is 503-226-3423, and our email address is 492.camping@scouting.org. Those are your two main places to contact us. There's more, but I mean, that phone number is manned during the day, the work day, and the email is manned out there. And then there's Chris, Harold, and myself that are also available to help you with solve problems.
Wow.
Awesome. That's great. Well, since you guys couldn't decide on which camp is better, does that mean I get to have the deciding vote?
No, to me, they're all my children. So I can't tell you which one my
we do a
kids
rotation.
like.
It's all, we're not biased. Our troop does a rotation. We're going to Meriwether this year, but we do a rotation and love it. It is just fantastic. What you guys said about all the camps is just fantastic. And if anybody wonders, anyone's on the fence, you go to the website, you go to the pages of each one of those camps. We've got videos and photos, and there's just so many neat things. You just kind of get a great overview of what you will experience there. And it really is unique. We are so blessed to have these incredible places and spaces to summer camp. It is unlike anything else across the BSA, I think, but not that I'm biased, of course. But anyway, so thanks, guys. That's just fantastic. And just so everybody knows, we will, of course, have this recorded. It is being recorded. We'll have the video version of this. We know that not everybody can make it, obviously, at noon on Wednesday, but we like to record these. We like to have an audio version as well, so people can kind of tune in or watch. There will be a blog post on it. We have a single blog post for the summer camp update. So that one is being refreshed with the latest and greatest version of what we're talking about on these webinars, on the monthly version of the Wednesday webinar specifically for summer camp. So that gets updated with this content, with the latest and greatest, as well as we will have links to the portals when those are up too, because those are going to be really neat for everybody to poke around in. They are a work in progress, but they are awesome. And so super, super excited to share that with everybody as well. So thanks, guys. This was fantastic. And I know we ran long, but you know what? We kind of get to talk as much as we want about summer camp, I think. You know, it's great. So awesome. All right, gang. Well, thanks so much for joining us. For everybody who's been online, who's been on Facebook, who's been here with us, really just thankful for all of you who are doing this with us and scouting with us and summer camping with us. Super excited for it. Next up, we're going to be talking about marketing next week. We've got some new tools. The National BSA's got tools. We've got some new tools, some really fun things that we've been testing and playing with and working with. And I think it's going to be really, really great to share with you some of those awesome tools. So please join us for that next week. And we'll have these other webinars scheduled as well. Just lots of great things coming down the pipe. And so join us for that on Wednesday at noon, as always. Well, thanks so much for joining us, gang. And thanks, Chris and Todd, for all your passion for these summer camps and for these kids and for all of the volunteers and parents. Just really appreciate all the wisdom that you've given. And we're just super, super excited to get back to normal summer camp this year. So thanks, gang, for joining us. Again, we'll have a recording of this. You'll see this also in your email, all the links and everything like that tomorrow in your Compass Points email for those of you in the Cascade Pacific Council. Otherwise, it'll be on the website at cpcbsa.org. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.